they've got a lot on the line. When you think about Randy and Ari, this is a draft. They've got to get it just right, and they've got to be able to adapt and pivot with Bryce Young now headed to the Panthers. And the Texans, they're in a spot where they can still get a quarterback. I was told today, do not rule out the possibility of C.J. Stroud, despite them being kind of cool on him throughout this draft process. They are doing a lot of due diligence in recent days on C.J. Stroud, and there's scenarios where they would try to get the pass rusher and the quarterback, either Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson, and C.J. Stroud. Take some maneuvering, and there's other teams that want C.J. Stroud, including the Tennessee Titans, who may try to move up to get the Ohio State quarterback.
All right, Aaron, good stuff there. And hey, guys, let's talk about, we're going to pop up a graphic now, and we'll do this over several positions. Let's take a look at the top quarterback prospects. We got a full screen graphic we're going to show so everybody watching can get a grasp of really the top 5 guys that everybody's talking about. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State, Will Levis out of Kentucky, Anthony Richardson, an intriguing prospect, still a little bit raw, coming out of Florida, and Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee, coming back from that ACL, but a guy that a lot of teams like right now as well. Before we break down each player, guys, just what do you think looking at this list of 5? And Ari, I'll start with you. This group of 5 quarterbacks, does anybody stand out among the others to you?
Well, Bryce Young, I think, stands out significantly about the others because he's just the most put-together prospect, the safest pick, a guy that I think you can rely on to come in and run an NFL offense immediately, start week 1, and that's exactly what the Texans needed. That's not going to happen. So failing that, now you got to look at the other 4 players with the 3 that are generally rated a little bit above Hendon Hooker. Which one of these 4 guys, the left, can run that offense week 1? Because I really don't think Texans fans definitely agree with me here. You want to trot out Davis Mills week 1. So you look at Will Levis, a guy who has the big arm, who's got the big body, but had some accuracy issues, had some decision-making issues. Is he a guy that's going to need to sit 4 or 6 weeks to figure out that offense and make the right decisions? Anthony Richardson is known to be a very raw prospect, low completion percentage in college, which usually doesn't translate, but he's obviously got the highest physical ceiling and could turn into a superstar. That's another guy you're going to have to wait on as he gets better and starts to learn that offense. So then you come down to Hendon Hooker, a guy who's about 25 years old. He's coming off an ACL. Will he be ready? Is he another guy that you're going to have to wait? C.J. Stroud feels like the quarterback out of that group who's most ready to start week 1. So if I had to pick out of that group of 4 short term, feels like to me C.J. Stroud. Long term, it's anybody's guess because you know how hard it is to evaluate quarterbacks.
Hey, Aaron, let's dive in first, player by player. I want to begin with Bryce Young, and we'll show some pictures while you're breaking him down as well. What do you like most about Bryce Young? People talk about his lack of size, can he be durable, but he's a consensus #1 pick, it looks like, to Carolina here in a matter of minutes.
Right, Randy. He's the Panthers' franchise quarterback immediately. And what I like about him, he's got a little bit of that small man Steph Curry dynamic, electric ability to him, and it kind of transcends the size, the lack thereof. So you look at Bryce, anticipation, good instincts. You wish his arm was a little stronger. Of course you wish he was bigger, but he may be one of those exceptions, a small quarterback like a Drew Brees or a Kyler Murray that can still excel in the NFL despite not having the physical prototype that you want.
You feel like he's a day 1 starter in Carolina, or do you think it might be a little bit of time before he's ready to go? What do you think?
I think he's going to be plug and play pretty quickly. He's very advanced in his knowledge of pro-style offense, and I think that he won't have a big learning curve. He's a very smart young man. He was the highest scorer on the S2 cognitive test. He did great on the Wonderlic, and he's just one of these guys that has a personality. He loves football. He's a gym rat. He's always going to be there working. I don't bet against Bryce Young, and it's too bad for the Texans fans and the Texans organization that he will not be a Texan. His visit, basically a waste of time when he came in because the Panthers had already locked in, and they'd already lost the opportunity to draft him because of the last game that Ari referenced and a Bears trade that didn't work out.
All right, good stuff, Aaron. Hey, let's move along to our next prospect, C.J. Stroud. And Ari, I'm going to start with you, and then Aaron, you weigh in after Ari as well. Let's talk about C.J. Stroud. We're going to roll some video, Ari, and here's a guy coming out of the Big Ten, Ohio State. Travis just told us he's not wild about Ohio State quarterbacks and the style of offense that they run, yet he put up big numbers, over 8,000 yards and 85 touchdowns. If he doesn't go to the Texans, it's not going to take long before a team snatches C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that history of Ohio State quarterbacks. The Justin Fields, who's just sort of now trying to find his way as a Chicago Bears quarterback. Cardale Jones, J.T. Barrett, I get it. C.J. Stroud has the physical tools to play in the NFL. The thing is that the Texans are looking at some of these other teams. There are a lot of things that came out this last week or two, whether that's professional subterfuge or things like that, or whether those are serious concerns remains to be seen as he takes the field in the NFL. But before these last few weeks of the draft and before Anthony Richardson really shot up boards and Will Levis shot up boards, it felt like it was 1-2 very close between Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. And it feels like these last couple weeks now, knowing that Young is going to be the pick at 1, there's been a big separation between those two guys. And you kind of got a feel for C.J. Stroud, who had this excellent career at this powerhouse program at Ohio State. And it's like, what more do I need to do? And that was sort of the vibe I got a little bit from his end. I talked to him a bit yesterday when he was at the community day, and he's still got that confidence. He said, I think I'm the best quarterback in this draft, knowing that he's likely not going first, but he believes coming out of this draft, he's still the best guy. It could be a very short day for him if the Texans decide to pull the trigger, or as Aaron was mentioning, the possibility that there's a trade-up between Tennessee and the Cardinals, and the Titans could hand the keys over to C.J. Stroud long-term as Ryan Tannehill's career seems to be winding down in Tennessee. But I think here's a guy who can play in the league. It's just, can you learn these offenses and be put in the right situation to succeed? Because we know how much of that matters. Can you be put somewhere where you feel comfortable to run that offense and be the leader of that locker room?
Hey, Aaron, let's move on now on to Will Levis now, the quarterback out of Kentucky. I want to get your take on what you've been hearing on Will Levis. He's a big-bodied guy, put up over nearly 6,000 yards and 46 touchdowns. Good size. He's got a gun for an arm. He will proudly admit what he has as well. He's not lacking confidence. Is this a guy that the Texans could target? If not, where do you see him going?
Right, Randy, he has an absolute cannon for an arm. But no, I do not think that he will be a Texan. In fact, I'll pretty authoritatively say he will not be a Texan at 2 or at 12. This isn't their guy. And it doesn't have anything to do with the personality. I know some people have mentioned that during the draft process. It has more to do with the film and the footwork and the interceptions and a lack of consistency that Will Levis has displayed in the Southeastern Conference. Couldn't beat out Sean Clifford at Penn State. And even though he's a great potential in terms of arm strength, I like his mobility, and I like the cockiness, the brashness. That doesn't turn me off at all. The teams are okay with it. This looks like a pretty raw quarterback that's got a lot of development to do, and I do not believe he'll be a Texan at all.
All right, let's keep it moving. Next quarterback prospect, I believe it's going to be on our board, Hendon Hooker now. Ari, I'll begin with you on Hooker. Projected as a first or second round pick. He's got a couple of years at Tennessee, really excelled in that offense with the Volunteers after transferring in. He's got that ACL he's battling back from. I'm curious if this is a guy the Texans could maybe be targeting, maybe at 12, or if they trade into late first round for that 33rd pick. What are your thoughts on Hooker? He's about a year older than some of these guys, a little bit more mature, but that injury's kind of hanging out there. He won't be ready to play really at training camp till August anyway.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have strong opinions about Hooker specifically, but it's rather the value of Hooker and the value of getting a quarterback that you might be able to replace Davis Mills with short term during the season at some point, making sure you know that ACL is healthy, making sure he knows the offense. I think it does help, honestly, a little bit that he's a little older. He's been around. He's been in different systems. He was at Virginia Tech first, then he was at Tennessee. He did a great job of picking up the system at Tennessee and put up huge numbers in the SEC. He's played tough competitions. He's torched really, really good defenses. The connection between him and receiver Jalen Hyatt was excellent this season. And then, of course, it's unfortunate not only did he get hurt, but that he got hurt late in the year, and so that recovery time just gets pushed back. I think it's all about value when it comes to Hendon Hooker. If you take him at 12, I don't know. Could have you gotten a better football player at 12? If you trade back into the first round from 33 to 23, get rid of some of your other of that 12 picks that you have throughout this weekend, then I'm starting to feel a little better about it, where the Texans get that high-end defensive end at 2. They get someone else at 12, let's say a wide receiver, because that's a position in need, and then you trade back in, and you still get your quarterback. You get your cake, you get your pie, and then you eat all of it too and get a brownie. That's how I would feel if you get Hooker late in the first round. For me, about him, it's less about him and more about the value of where you can get him.